Hello everyone, this is Himdad A with you again in another lesson from the module entitled Translation, Theory and Practice, and this will be lesson 7, in which we are going to continue talking about translation problems. Previously we have talked about problems related to language and linguistics and the levels of language with some examples. For today, we are going to focus on stylistic problems. Stylistic problems of translation may be approached from different perspectives. For example, style of language, their peculiarities, their goals, and their interrelation. Or it could be approached as the stylistic meaning of words. On the other hand, stylistic devices, their nature and structure, their expressive functions, and so on. So, the translation of texts that belong to different functional styles of language is a comprehensive problem. By a style of language, or a style of language depends upon the realm and sphere of communication and the aim of communication, which determines what particular choices of language means should we select. These means are interrelated and they form a system which becomes a characteristic of each style. So, any text that belongs to a different style of language possesses some distinctive stylistic features. That's why when we see these features, they can be easily recognized. I think if you want to understand what we mean by stylistic differences, we have to provide some examples. In order to clarify this, we are going to take two styles as samples. The first one is called official style. By official style, we mean a subsystem of the language or a form of communication that is used in the domain of official relations. In this style, official style, the aim of communication is to reach an agreement between two or more contracting parties. Because it is very important and it is official and it is in the domain of, for example, agreements or signing contracts, so the language or the terms of that agreement should be formulated clearly and unambiguously in order to avoid and exclude any possibility of misinterpretation. We know that the language of official documents, for example, should be very clear and unambiguous in order to avoid any misinterpretation. So consequently, what will happen? This style or the language used in this style will be characterized by the use of words in their direct referential meaning. So the words should have only that referential meaning, no emotive meanings should be included or taken into consideration for that one. Another outstanding feature of official style language is the abundance of special terms, of cliches and set expressions. They are very special to that specific style, and that's why it is recognized by the existence of these words, terms, cliches, and set expressions. Some of these set expressions, terms that are special to that style, maybe or may have their counterparts in the target language. But this is not necessarily true. Look at these examples. For example, بۆ پڕچەککردن و ڕاهێنانی سەربازی و ڕاوێژکاری. You see the terminology like پڕچەککردن is very special to official agreements between government offices or between countries or parties. You say هەردوو وڵایەت چوونە ناو ڕێکەوتنێکی دادپەروەرانە. ڕێکەوتنی دادپەروەرانە, that's to say it is just for both. It is equal both. It takes both sides into consideration, both counterparts. ڕێکەوتنەکە لە سەرەتای مانگی ئەیلول دەکەوێتە بواری جێبەجێکردن. Look at this structure. دەکەوێتە بواری جێبەجێکردن becomes effective in, for example, in September. These are in Kurdish. If we take another example but in English, for example, look at this sentence which is very official. The Security Council shall, where appropriate, utilize such regional arrangements or agencies for enforcement action under its authority. Charter of the United Nations, Article 53. This is an article from the UN or United Nations Charter. Look at the language, look at the codes, look at the features. You see, let's consider the use of shall here. You see, shall is used, not will, because it is formal and it does not include any kind of promise, but it will do that. And look at this parenthesis, like where appropriate, in case it is necessary, in case it is seen as appropriate. Utilize, not the word use. Utilize, it means to make use of, or bakari behene. Such regional arrangements or agencies for enforcement action under its authority. ئەنجومەنی ئاسایش ئەگەر گونجا و پێویست بوو ئەو ڕێکخستنە هەرێمی یان ئاژانسانە بەکاردێنێ بۆ جێبەجێکردنی کارەکان لەبەر ڕۆشنایی دەسەڵاتەکانی. مادەی 53 لە پەیڕەوی ناوخۆی نەتەوە یەکگرتووەکان یان لە پەیڕەوی نەتەوە یەکگرتووەکان. If you look at the language, you immediately see or feel that there is a special feature or kind of peculiarity of the language used, and even the terms and the words used. So translators, when they try to transform this knowledge and this piece of information within these two lines, they have to use a language, they have to use a set of vocabularies that are special to that specific style. That's what we mean by stylistic problems. Sometimes we don't have a counterpart in that language, or sometimes you might not have done any translation in the field of legislation or in the field of United Nations resolutions and so on. So the best thing to do is to read some background knowledge about these cases, about these contracts, about these charters, in order to know what are the peculiar features of that specific official style. This will help you and facilitate your work when you start translating, because it should not be translated into common language or into common words. And another example, again in official style, is that these texts or these kind of texts, they need utmost precision. So the equivalence between source language and target language should be very, very close to each other and very strong. That does not allow any misinterpretation. For example, the treaty was declared null and void, just and equitable treatment, in good and due form, etc. Look at these set expressions. Such kind of synonymous pairs in official documents are not very widespread in Kurdish, but still we can manage translating them. For example, for null and void, this is a legislative and legal domain and sphere that we are talking about. Putalu halwashawa. So that when the treaty was declared null and void, it means putalbo u halishwashayo. Just an equitable treatment. Rekautineki dadwerano yaksan. In good and due form. Basheweki bashu shaista. Look at the words and the terms used in the official style domain, and sometimes translators, as we said before, face problems in translating or finding equivalent words, terms, or cliches for that specific purpose. If we move to another style, another type of style that is also peculiar, and sometimes translators face problem in translating texts to that field, is called newspaper style, or in general media style. This style possesses many features in common, but it presents a considerable variety and may be divided into two types of texts. We call them texts that contain the information, or texts that comment on this information. News in brief and information articles, let's say newspaper style, they should be avoid or devoid of emotive and individual coloring. They have to use impersonal passive structures or constructions. Cliches also are an outstanding feature of the newspaper style. They are characterized by compactness of form, which is again due to want of space, because in newspapers they don't have enough space, so they have to make their writings as compact, as precise as possible. There are several other features, but as we said also, some examples might clarify the issue that we are going to talk about. For example, look at this heading of newspaper: 2 die in Duhok floods. 2 die in Duhok floods. Concentrate on the construction of the sentence. Maybe grammatically it is not correct. Maybe if we are given a chance to do it, you will do it. You will arrange it or reorder the words in a different way. But this is newspaper style. You want to be compact, as precise as possible, and you have to create kind of suspense, and it should attract the readers to the topic or to the article that you want to write. That's why 2 die in Duhok floods. It gives information, it contains information in a compact way. So la fawaki, in Kurdish you say la fawaki Duhok du qurbani le kautawa, yani du kasbuna qurbani la fawaki Duhok bonumuna. Look at this sentence and concentrate on what is underlined also. 2 people are known to have died and hundreds are homeless after the floods which struck Duhok on Monday. Again, I want you to concentrate on the structure of the sentence. It should be passive. There should be no personal or individual feelings, no subjectivity to that feelings. You just impart the knowledge. We can render it in Kurdish in this way: Ta esta پشتڕاست کراوەتەوە کە دوو کەس گیانیان لەدەستدا و سەدەها کەسی تریش بێماڵ بوون لە ئاکامی ئەو لافاوەی ڕۆژی دووشەمە لە دهۆک هەستاوەیان لە دهۆک ڕوویدا. On several occasions we can see the use of metaphor in media language or in the language of newspapers or in the style of newspapers. Look at this example. The Industrial Relations Bill is an attempt to slit the throat of trade unions. To slit the throat is used as a metaphor here in English. So if a translator is not well informed and well acquainted with the idiomatic expressions, with the metaphorical expressions, with the different terms used in different styles, then this translator may commit several translation errors that will distort the whole target text and the whole message behind this line. It could be translated into پرۆژە یاسای پەیوەندیە پیشەسازیەکان هەوڵێکە بۆ سەربڕینی سەندیکا بازرگانیەکان. Concentrate on the slit the throat. Slit the throat, maybe the word سەربڕین here is not a good equivalent to slit the throat of trade unions, but that's what we have. We don't have an equivalent. So when you use that strong word, that emotive word, maybe you are going to distort the whole picture of the or the image of the sentence and the content of that one. So I hope by now we know what do we mean by stylistic problems, translators that might face, because each style has its own features related to language, especially the use of special terms, special cliches, and special set expressions and even metaphors. Whether you need to translate official style, newspaper style, literature, or medical content, each text comes with difficulties and it requires specific language skills. So choosing the right word depending on the context and the style of language used and the purpose of the content is an art that translators must work hard in order to master, and they can master it over years of working in the industry of translation. Idioms, metaphorical expressions, unique words, they are also very difficult to translate, and they can be also found in these specific styles that we have talked about. In addition to idioms and metaphorical expressions, there are some industry-specific terminology or jargon that are used in that one. So we need to concentrate and depend on context, and we should never forget research or pre-translation steps. Before you start the translation, you have to research and you have to have an in-depth knowledge of the language used in that style and the target language that you want to keep, because the meaning of the original content is very important to grasp and then to deliver it in an easy way, in a suitable and appropriate format to the target language readers and audiences. Thank you very much for listening, and we will continue with our videos, so stay tuned with us.